the question which was put by Anjali ji from Udaipur, it was very connected with the discussion of Dasora ji. Here I would like to share one thing related to this question. How can one sustain and survive as an educational leader without getting involved in active politics? Who is an active politician? That definition is very required these days. Who is an active politician? Do you think that member of any political party, they are active politicians? No, not at all. Our teachers are the real politicians. They are the kingmaker. Those who are kingmaker, they are always politicians. But the politicians like Chanakya is required now, who can make the destiny. But here, without involving oneself in politics, can also survive if he is an activist. There is no need of a leader. If somebody is an activist, he is a practitioner, whatever he is thinking, whatever he is conceptualizing, whatever he is learning from the environment, from the educational institution, if it is practiced in his day-to-day life, with honesty, with sincerity, there is no need of taking the help of any politician, because these are the people, those who have built their career, those who have sustained in this world of education, world of these critical issues without any involvement of political activities. But a teacher, as a leader, educational leader, a teacher is an educational leader, and his quality, his objective of life is to make the world beautiful. God has made the world beautiful, and the teacher's duty is to make the world more beautiful, more effective, more productive, more dynamic. That's why environmental sustainability is required. Environmental sustainability does not mean that only you will have to take care, you will have to see about the environment. No, not like that. You are to become the role model, because Professor Dasora has rightly told that without becoming a role model, nobody can work properly, nobody can reflect, nobody can put his effect on the society. So political interference is found everywhere, so active politics is required, but not in the field of election, or not like that. But a teacher, as a leader, he can survive with his teaching qualities, with his attitude, with his vision, with his sincerity, with his love, empathy, and above all, his value development. And here is politics a diabolic plot for leadership. It differs from person to person. What you are thinking may not be equal to others' thinking. So politics is not political activities. Politics is not free from education. All the educationists, those who are found effective, have put their signature in politics. You see, Radhakrishnan, what he was? He was a teacher. He was a leader. That's why we praise him. And he has made a lot. He has given a lot to the society for its social sustainability, for the economic sustainability, and above all, value sustainability of the world. So I think our quality as teacher leader, our responsibility is much more than others. We are actually now in the period of pandemic, COVID-19 pandemic, our role has already been increased. It is changed, and we have to think about our educational world. We have to think about our natural world, and at the same time, we have to think about the social world, which needs to be political free, politics free. Nasty politics is going on everywhere, wherever you will see. But we have to make ourselves free from all those things so that we can concentrate upon the sustainability. Without sustainability of human society, human world, human being, we cannot think for global peace. Global peace is our objective. Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina cannot be possible without peace gatherings. So friends, how can one sustain? One can sustain through his own activities, own activeness, own quality, and above all, own practice. I think doubt is clear? Or I think Professor Sharma ji can answer more. Professor Talesra is here and she has done a lot in the field of leadership, and I would like to request her to please go ahead.
Thanks, Professor Sharma ji, for your knowledgeable lecture based on your practical experience on natural climate. You have vast knowledge in the field, so I want to add something and clear the subject also. Regarding environmental sustainability, we can define it as responsible interactions with the environment to avoid duplication or degradation of natural resources and allow for long-term environmental quality. With sustainable agriculture, farmers minimize water use and lower the dependence on chemical pesticides and fertilizers. Local leaders and authorities have a very important role in preserving natural resources and achieving the concept of sustainable development. Primary sustainable leadership plays a major role in the management of natural resources. Sustainability at local level refers not only to environmental, energy, or environmental issues such as the conservation of natural energy and environment, but also effort to involve the community in the process, develop organizational capacities, and promote the principles of sustainable development. In the wake of COVID-19, leadership on environmental sustainability increasing a vast demand. According to the UN Environmental Program Director Anderson, it is a time to restore our forests, stop deforestation, invest in the management of protected areas, and proper markets for deforestation-free products. So, Dr. Uma Shankar is an expert of natural, environmental, and sustainable. So, it is Dr. Uma Shankar ji. You can, am I right?
Yeah, you are right.
Yeah.
Thank you, Didi. Thank you, Dr. Professor Talesra. Your effective definition. It is quite effective. Your definition. It is a requirement of the hour. And one thing I can say that self-awareness, it leads to self-generation, and self-generation leads to environmental generation. And if somebody is not self-aware, if somebody is not generated, he or she cannot do anything, because sustainable environment is the environment that able to maintain things or qualities that are valued in the physical environment and also in the social environment. So only physical or natural environment is not essential to make the humanity sustainable. Natural environment is the most important thing, and social environment, educational environment, political environment, economic environment, other environment are also, they are the parts. But the peak is natural environment. What we are doing? What is our activities? We are talking about environment. We are observing environmental day. We are thinking about banning the polythene. We are thinking about so many things. But what we are doing actually? in our day-to-day life. Specifically, we teachers, who are known as the educational managers, who are known as the leaders. Are we trying to change our mindset? Are we trying to activities? Are we ready to do something great? Not for us only, but for others? Actually, this is the right time. Because if environment will be gone, nothing will be there. One life example I would like to say. 25 years back, I had been to Port Blair. In the year 28 years back, in the year 1992, I visited Port Blair, Andaman and Nicobar. And after 26, 27 years, I once again visited Andaman. And I found two things. When I was very young, in 1992, I enjoyed Andaman not as a visiting place, but as a place of environmental protective areas, the coral island and so many things. But now it has become a tourist place, and in the name of environmental protection, what we are doing? We are wasting everything. And Professor Talesra is one of the evident. She has also visited that in that group. What we have observed? This has happened to India, not India, a small place like Andaman. What happened to our Nilgiri Hills? What happens to Odisha, Nandankanan? What happens to Barrama? Even to Udaipur, nearby Udaipur? We are not ready to do. In the name of culturalization, in the name of civilization, nearby to Maharana Pratap's Maraki. Once upon a time, it was a place when I was a student of MSU. I was visiting very frequently to Professor Talesra. And what was the environment there? And what is the present environment? Are we not responsible with the teachers? One teacher has started that Pratap Memorial, Rana Pratap Memorial, some activities. Nobody is complaining, nobody is taking care, because we are running after material life. We are thinking about the brand. We are thinking about the brand. We are using the things which are not natural. We are not using the things which are actual natural. Unnatural things are daily used by teachers, most of the teachers. If teachers will lead the group, if teachers will start taking kadha, if teachers will start taking, if the teachers will start doing yajna, at least people will be able to follow, because teachers are the ideal, teachers are the model, and people, the students, the people, common people, the stakeholders, they used to follow the teachers. We are not ready to give marriage to our daughter to a farmer who is agricultural, even agricultural engineer. We are ready to give marriage to our daughter to a bank clerk. Mindset is like that, because the person is doing agriculture, खेती बाड़ी कर रहा है, he is doing this type of things, because our attitude, our mindset is fixed. We are not ready to accept the things which is really needed. We are not spiritual. Here spirituality is needed for sustainability. Without spirituality, sustainability cannot be possible, because spirituality is not worshipping of God. Spirituality is an environment to grow within. Spirituality leads to sincerity. Spirituality leads to think about others, empathy. Spirituality leads to think about the environment. Spirituality helps in realizing the values of life, which is equal to all. Jive Daya, that is one of the component of spirituality. And India is famous for that one. And once upon a time, I am really thankful to Professor Sarmaji, who has started initiating that ideas. And once again, we need it. Once again, we need it. During pandemic, I know the pain. I was a COVID patient. 2 months back, I was suffering from, I got attacked in COVID-19. What was my mental state? It was asymptomatic. It was asymptomatic, but I was moving with fear. I am also a part of this corruption, of this pollution. So this pollution, I feel that I am also a part. More or less, I am also responsible. So each and every individual, each and every teacher, specifically teacher, because without teacher, the society cannot move.
Yes.
Though the society cannot move properly, we can produce. You know, we are talking about online classes. What the students are doing? What the students are doing? They are opening the online classes and they are moving to YouTube, porno channels. I'm experiencing with the students, those who are living nearby my house. So teacher is the only person who can throw light, whether it is population control or environmental sustainability or quality development of our life. Only the teacher can show the light. Shukracharya is required everywhere.
Kishori ma'am
is not required. So madam, now I would like to request Seemaji for another question.
Okay.
Seemaji,
A very active educationist, I can understand the suffering, the pain that you have witnessed as a teacher among the student community, that they're not responding, they are not becoming sensitive. But do we as educationists feel that this new education policy that India has recently announced would be implemented in the educational institutes? Because now this kind of educational awareness, this kind of orientation of the students towards becoming more practical, skill-based education was highlighted in the new educational policy. And as I was going through this policy, I also realized, as we are talking about this sustainable issue, sustainability is the crux of survival. Until and unless sustainability is ensured, the existence, the mere existence on this planet cannot be thought of. And as we all are witnessing in this COVID period, that life has become so uncertain that I'm also really sorry today. I was heartbroken in the morning before the start of this program, and really it is sad to share with you all that one of the professors from Veterinary University, Mihir Chandani sir, he was working as controller examination in Veterinary University, and he also suffered from this corona, and he was discharged from the hospital that he was declared negative. He came home, and later on he couldn't survive. He had a heart attack, massive heart attack, and he left today. So actually this shattered my whole thought process as to what direction we all are moving. We don't know today. We stand here, we talk, we exchange things, but this environmental problems that are coming up, they need to be addressed through the institutionalized frameworks of education, be it the school education system or be it the university higher educational institutes. So I would like Dr. Kishori Das ma'am, that we are talking about the institutional restructuring and consolidation. And Dr. Dashora, for the higher educational institutes, since you also have had a vast experience working with agricultural universities, and this new National Educational Policy 2020, it also lays emphasis on catalyzing quality academic research in all the fields through a national research foundation, through different methods. So one by one we'll be taking up. So Kishori ma'am, what do you think this national education policy, will it really revamp or help us to reinvent a new methodology where sustainability as an issue could be addressed through the teachers, by laying as role models for leadership development among the students, so that this thing gets permeated or percolated among the community at large?
Yes, I wholeheartedly welcome to the new education policy. I would like to share my experience that during the 10th of August 2015, I organized the first workshop in my institute at Dr. PM Institute of Advanced Studies Center in Education at Sambalpur when I was the principal, when Smriti Irani was the Minister HRD. And we initiated the process. The workshop was initiated by me and my group at that time. We initiated the process from the teachers, and the teachers, they wholeheartedly expressed their views that this policy will definitely work, because here one thing is found. Here the decision is started from the grassroots. The initiation is made from the grassroots, from village to Gram Panchayat to Jilla Parishad, then from town, every person, they are not left behind. Their ideas have been incorporated, their ideas have been taken. And one thing is, teacher is not a simple person who will teach in the classroom. Teacher is considered in this, in our education policy. Higher education, in higher education only the term leadership is mentioned. There is one chapter in leadership, and leadership is mentioned not as a teacher will be the leader. A teacher, whoever may be the teacher, from primary school teacher or a university teacher, matters not. Teacher means a teacher. Teacher means a person who will actually help the students. He will not solve the student or dictate the students the notebook or note or other things. The teacher's role is to help the student to become confident. And here, so many things are given. So many things are given, the priority is given. But one thing, if it will be shut out, because Siksha Premi, the concept of Siksha Premi is there and Siksha Karmi is there. Siksha Karmi, there are two type of teachers. If there are two type of teachers which are found in our societies, in our colleges, in our schools. What happens? One is contractual and another is permanent. If this system will be continued, then I think the system, it will not be so fruitful. If it will be abolished and the teachers will be given autonomy to work, if they will be given a real platform to expose themselves, real platform to innovate their ideas, they will be getting democratic freedom to expertise, to expose their expertise, then only it will be fruitful. Still, I am a positive minded person. I do have a positive attitude, and I am sure that this 2020 policy will definitely show light, because our culture has got priority in the educational system. When culture gets priority in any educational system, when value gets priority in any educational system, then the thing is in the hand of culture. Culture can never be a negative thing. And teachers, they respect to culture. Parents, they respect to culture. Tradition is different and culture is different. And our culture has received this policy. People have got priority in new education policy. Their sentiments are respected. So I think the stakeholders, those who are taking decision in educational system, and another thing is environment has got priority also. Environmental sustainability has got priority in our educational system. Environment is integrated. Educational courses are integrated with environmental courses, and lot many courses, like starting from agriculture to our computer learning, everything is integrated. Multi-dimensional concepts are engrossed. So I am sure that this policy will be fruitful. I am not saying about 100%, but to a great extent it will be successful.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Yes, very rightly that you said that the agriculture education, environmental education is becoming a part of the school curricula, And as we all are witnessing that agriculture education that was earlier as a subject was abolished from the schools has now again been introduced at the 12th plus 12th level, and it is being taken up as a professional discipline. ICR has already declared that agriculture degrees would be professional degrees, and since this education has been introduced at the school level, I think so teachers as motivators, as role models, since this education policy lays more emphasis on experiential learning, skill-based teaching, and the introduction of the digital means. So this kind of integration and teachers setting up of labs where students can actually grow crops, they can work with the sand, they can learn about the different ecological factors. So this kind of education, when it permeates to the lower levels, I think so from that framework, if they move towards the higher education framework, the students will definitely be more environmental sensitive. They will have a deeper understanding about the ecological systems, and as they enter the educational systems at the higher level, they would be more receptive towards the sustainability issues. So over to you, Dashura sir, that how can this higher educational institutes make be in line with what students come out from the school, they get acquainted and adjusted into the higher educational system to be more sensitive and receptive towards this sustainable issue?
Before answering your query, I would start from what is education.
Thank you, sir.
Asatoma sadgamaya, tamsoma jyotirgamaya, mrityurma amritam gamaya. It is the education. Appo dipo bhava. It is the education. Education is, in the words of Albert Einstein, if education is what when one has forgotten everything he has learned in the schools and colleges, what remains? If he has forgotten everything he has learned in the schools and colleges, then what remains? It is the sanskar, it is the way of life, it is the attitude towards life, it is the attitude to your fellow beings, towards society and towards coming generation. It is making a man perfect man. It is education. And fortunately, Education Policy 2020 is based on 5 pillars.
Yes.
Those 5 pillars are: first is accessibility. Education should be accessible to all. Second is equity. Everybody, every single person equal to the, in front of education, he is entitled for education. Third one is quality. Everyone has a right to have quality education.
Quality.
And it is the duty of the society to provide and to make system for quality education. Affordability. Everyone should be in a position to afford the education. And last is very important, that is development. Development, not only merely a physical development, construction of roads and dams and infrastructure. It is the development of society. And for that, we want to ensure that sustainable development by 2030. It is the target of education policy. So for that, there is a radical change in the system, right from pre-primary education to college education. Madam has already dealt school education. Now, as you required, I would just give some glimpses of features in the college education. A person can opt his subject. There is no faculty barriers. He has got a choice to study any subject he wants, maybe one from science, another from commerce, third one from management, or from arts or social science. And at one level after school, if he completes a certain number of credit hours, a certain number of courses, he is given certificate. And based on that certificate, he can get admission in the second year of graduation anytime, anywhere. It is a flexibility. If he completes the second year, he will get diploma. If he completes diploma, then he can get in third year, and he completes it, he'll get degree. With fourth year of additional training, he'll get a complete degree with skill teaching, skill learning. So in nutshell, I would say that for graduation, a person graduating in new education policy will have enough skill to sustain his life based on utilizing the skill learned and skill obtained, skill acquired in the process of education, and contribute in the GDP of the nation. Further, he can pursue his education at higher level. For PG, if he has completed 4 years, PG will be for 1 year. If he has completed his graduation for 3 years, PG will be for 2 years. MPhil has been done away in it. Then research, and everything is interdisciplinary, multidisciplinary. There is no barrier of discipline. So it is a total change. Universities will have all courses. Even ICAR might be required to change its concept of declaring agriculture as a professional subject, because agriculture may be taught in general universities also simultaneously as arts, science or commerce is being taught. So we have to be very pragmatic in understanding, adopting and implementing new education policy if we really want to develop our nation, do away with the unemployment in the society, contribute and make everybody able to contribute in the GDP of the nation, so that we can grow with our desired speed to help world to grow simultaneously. So new education policy has a wonderful setup. The only thing is the implementation and adoption. It depends on the we teachers. Are we really ready, or we welcome it? As Kishori madam has rightly mentioned that she is optimistic always. I would say even if she is pessimistic somewhere, she should optimistically welcome new education policy. So if anybody who is looking forward, who wants to build the nation and make this world a better world for the coming society, should welcome education policy, so that India can play its role effectively in making this world a peaceful world, a dynamic world, a vibrant world, a world which is a gift from this generation to the coming generation to make it still better. I think I clarified my views.
Yes,
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Now I would like to request Professor Talesra to please express yourself the essentiality of sustainable leadership with regard to our environment, need of sustainability or need of leadership for sustainable development. Please, madam, from your point of view.
Thanks a lot, Kishori. In my view, leadership sustainability ensuring that in meeting our needs for water, food, shelter, as well as energy in relation to all aspects of our lives, from creating eco-homes and environmentally consciousness communities to sourcing sustainable food, renewable energy, low impact furniture and clothing also. World Commission of Environmental and Development report on sustainable development first put forward the importance of environmental sustainability, and our National Education Policy 2020 also emphasizes on the sustainable environment. According to the report of World Commission on Development, recognition of link between equality, poverty and environment degradation, seeking a way forward for a fair world with less damage to environment that support communities. So according to Wetland Commission is also on environmental education. According to his report, sustainable development as the way forward for a fair society, which looks after its resources. The report defines sustainable development as development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. And why we need sustainable practice? Sustainable practice is also important in my view.
Yeah.
So while many individuals and communities have long the damages that can be caused to our environment and that of the plants and animals we share our planet with, it is only relatively recently this has been acknowledged globally. The air we breathe and our rivers and oceans don't recognize local, national or even continental boundaries. So we must all take care of them for each other. For example, air pollution and other pollutions we can take. So thank you very much, Kishori, for giving me chance.
Over to Uma Shankar ji. One thing we should address, that there are certain issues related to our environmental sustainability. There are main 5 issues that shift to renewable resources, environmental protection, which leads to protect health of ecosystem, then avoid excess pollution, intergeneration of decision making. Another one is target welfare, and this should also be, these are the actually issues. This should also be it should be discussed in our school level, college level, so that students will be more acquainted. These are highlighted in 2020 NPE 2020, but it is not given in details. Actually, that time when it was constituted, that time COVID was not there. COVID was not there, but there was a chance. And 3 days back, one scientist has told that some other diseases are coming which are more dangerous than COVID. If it is true, then we are to actually, and that will be possible only due to air pollution. That will be possible only due to air pollution. 3 days back, there was a discussion in our national TV. So these things should also be integrated in our education policy. Still time is there for modification. So because you are in higher post doesn't mean that VC or secretary like that. You are a decision maker, you are involved with research associations, you are involved with agricultural world, environmental world. I am talking to Professor Dasora also, to Professor Talesra also. So we should put our grievances before the government to highlight on these things, to take decision on these things, so that more and more discussions should be made, and our students, our future, they will be addressing on this. Because our life is more precious. Our life is more precious.
Kishori ma'am, now I'm really, I'm really keen because the panel is all set and there are so many participants who are waiting for their questions to be answered. So Dr. Sarojini Sahu
from Rajgangpur.
She has a question that how can people be encouraged for rainwater harvesting and organic farming? How can it be encouraged so that we can have a sustainable development? Dr. Sarojini Sahu. So Dr. Uma Shankar sir, these two things are from her. Rainwater harvesting and organic farming. How can these things be encouraged?
Hello.
Hello. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Rainwater harvesting is already, because in wherever the houses are there, or there is already system, is a perfect system to harvest the rainwater, and that can be diverted to the tube well or nearby well, or to the we can, or otherwise the whole water of the whole village. That can be, we can make a small pond of on that, and that pond is being there, recharge the well and tube wells of the area, and that water can be again reused. And we should not make these roads and all that, CC road and all that, because some of the water that should be percolated in the land also, and for the plants also and trees also, they should survive nearby the both the sides of the roads also. So rainwater system is a perfectly, now the system is evolved, and we can do it our houses also, residence also, in our farm also. We can harvest the rainwater, and that is being used for that, because this water is also very good for even for poly houses also, because the pH of the this water is, they are neutral in nature, so that can be very well used in the poly houses also. As far as this organic farming is concerned, because nowadays there is a heavy pesticides are being used by the farmers and nearby city areas, and so that you can have a kitchen gardening in our houses also, if they have some space in the, even in the pots also, you can cultivate the vegetables, that can be used without an organic farming. You can use the vermicompost for that, and it is available in the market also, in the village also. A farmyard manure can be used for that. And these botanical pesticides, neem seed kernel extracts, this neem cake or karanj cake, or this another, that can be used for that. Even we can use the as a pesticides, cow urine is can be used as a pesticides. Then there are some neem leaves can also be used as a pesticide, and there are so many facilities and other we can say options are available with us, that can be make use. We can make use of this trichoderma also, which will prevent the fungal diseases and all that also. So without using pesticides or other chemical fertilizers, we can grow the vegetables in the kitchen gardening, or in the some terrace also, or in the pots also. And our some of the KVKs, Krishi Vigyan Kendra, they are also supplying in the kits also, they are supplying for vegetable kits of the seasonal vegetables. You can just pour the water and you can harvest the vegetables and all that. Small fruit plants can also be you can plant in your that plot also. So that way we can make use of this organic farming. And otherwise the products of organic farming, they are also available in the malls also, in the big city also. They are certified products, they are available, that this is they are being produced by the organic farming only. You can go and purchase them, and then you can make use of that.
Thank you very much, sir. And now, Dashura sir, there is one more question that has come up from Dr. Anil Paliwal, Udaipur. He says that William Shakespeare in Twelfth Night says, "Be not afraid of greatness. Some are born great, some achieve greatness, and others have greatness thrust upon them." In this connection, my question is, does this analogy apply to educational leadership also? Over to you, Dashura sir. Mute. Sir, mic.
I would say that certainly in education arena, a good number of leaders have been thrust upon leadership on them, but they do not survive for a longer period. It's everywhere. Shakespeare has given this, some are born great, and greatship is thrust upon a few. Now the order is reverse. a good number of persons are being thrust upon greatness, especially in the field of education. The reason being time-bound promotion. The reason being the devices in the society. Do we really give credit to the merit? Our constitution, our constitutional provisions are also helpful in thrusting greatness to a few. So why not we accept the truth? But certainly the torch bearer is one. One has to come forward. In the history also, anytime we look at the past, there was one person who was the leader and who immersed himself. The rest of them followed. So these so-called leaders in not only in education, but in other fields also will be follower if we really find a proper leader whom we can follow.
That's so nicely answered, sir. And related to this only, Dashura sir, there's one more question from Tahalari Sanjeev Kumar. He's asking, is leadership and charismatic leaders possible to survive against today's adulterated political conditions in our country?
May I request you to repeat the question?
Yeah. Is leadership and charismatic leaders possible to survive against the today's adulterated political conditions in our country?
I have a different opinion. The charismatic leaders emerge out of this dirty politics, because Kamal comes out of mud only, lotus comes out of mud only. The mud is there, and mud is a feed for the lotus. The charismatic leader will emerge and is emerging. As a result, new education policy has come up. So we should be optimistic the way Madam Kishori is.
Another question from Vivek Vyas sir. Vivek Vyas is asking, respected sir, please share your views on sustainability, that is a habitat which is gradually decreasing in our common life. Our ancestors used sustainable things, and so our daily routine is also sustainable. How to make a balance between growth and sustainability? Please guide as an academician as well as a common man.
The question is to Uma Shankar ji or to me?
I think so. It is for all of us and to him also.
So if anyone wants to answer, it's okay. Then I can attempt it.
Yes, sir, please.
It is our mindset which decides our priority. We want to live our life for ourselves only. We have forgotten that we are here in this world because of our ancestors. And we have a definite role to make this world a better world than what we have received from our ancestors. And for that, we have to review our deeds. We have to review our thinking. We have to review our lifestyles. And we are required to be the role model. Can we? Will I? This is the question. And this is the answer.
That's very rightly said, sir. And now over to you, Hemlata Talesra ma'am. There's one question coming from Dr. Chandra Joshi, Haldwani, Uttarakhand. She's asking, how can we encourage today's youth towards various kinds of sustainability? It is a big challenge for the teaching community. So how can we encourage today's youth towards various kinds of sustainability?
Yes, very good question, Chandra. We as a teacher, we can easily encourage our students who are also teachers, and they encourage their students with some practical empowerment or practical activities. In our B.Ed colleges, we already have some activities. And Chandra, you are also organizing some activities in your Teachers Training College, Haldwani. So through these activities, maybe maybe in workshops, maybe seminar, maybe conference, maybe only discussions, we encourage our students about the sustainability, and also the teacher should show in his personality that she or he is empowered, because the students learn from the teacher. So first, we are the source of sustainability. If we have sustainability, then our students will trend in the sustainability, and our teachers trend their students for sustainability. So am I correct, Chandra? It is all right?
I think so, Chandra ma'am might have got answer to her question. Then there's one question coming up from anonymous. How can sustainability be ensured through culture? How can sustainability be ensured?
For whom? Dr. Uma Shankar, Dr. Dashora, Dr. Kishori, or myself?
I think so, ma'am. All the learned professors sitting on this platform are equally.
Yeah.
Yes, it is a beautiful question.
And anybody can answer, and you can also supplement also.
Dashora sir.
May I answer it?
Yes, sir. Dashora sir, please. How can sustainability be ensured through culture?
Very term culture ensures it. What is culture? What is culture?
It is a
How it has become
foundation.
culture? If it is culture, then it is sustainable. Then only it is culture. Culture is a continuous flow of your beliefs, your actions, your likings, your dislikings. It's a continuous flow. Like Nirjar, water flow. A drop of water is not repeating, but it is a continuous flow. It is culture. So culture is sustainable. And the way culture is sustainable, we can imbibe sustainability in our life. This is my answer.
Yeah.
Very nicely said. Is also someone from this panel wanting to contribute?
Yeah. I'll say the very term agriculture. Am I audible?
Yeah.
The very term agriculture is culture, agro-culture. Here two terms are used, agro and culture. Culture is well defined in agriculture. If somebody believes in agriculture, practice in agriculture, practice in the agricultural activities, he is the first person who can sustain the life of the people.
Madam, I agree with you. I agree that agriculture is right way.
Yeah. Another thing is sericulture. If you want to sustain the life of the human being, life of the society, sericulture is another one. Life culture, that art site is coming on your life culture, and culture is a continuous process. Culture is a continuous process, it never ends. So pro-behavior is one, pro-behavior of the human being. Pro-behavior among our students has to be encouraged. What happens? We are leaving the room, but we are not switching off to the light. क्या जाता है बाप का? कंपनी का माल दरिया में डाल. Is this a behavior? What is pro-behavior? This is also for Chandraji. Because pro-behavior is one segment which helps an individual to become pertinent, to become particular, to become culture. Three types of people are there. One is Ravana, one is Vibhishana, and one is Kumbhakarna. Kumbhakarna is a natural being, knows nothing about life. Whatever he gets, he takes. Ravana, egoistic, excess cleverness. like us. We all are Ravanas these days. And Vibhisans are cultured. They know the situation, how to tackle the situation, how to sustain in the world of work, how to sustain out of all sorts of evils. So Vibhishan practiced culture. Ravan knew about culture. That's why he was being invited by Ramachandra to perform the holy activities during the worship of Setubandha. He was the yajna, he was the Kulapurohit, he was the priest. He knew everything, but he didn't practice in his life. He was not culture. Our culture, our cultural events, cultural activity speaks everything. Culture does not mean that to perform a cultural activity is culture. No, not like that. Culture is different. It is the refinement of the heart. It is the refinement of the soul. It is refinement of our behavior. It is refinement of very things, so many things. So culture never dies. Rather, it grows, it develops, it continues from one generation to another generation. And the beautiful parts are coming in culture. Tradition may be corrupted. We may put some evil spots in our tradition. Tradition may be ritualistic. Tradition may be having some, what I can say, conservatism and other things. But culture is open. Culture, our culture, it is human culture. Our culture is love is the foundation of culture. Sincerity is the foundation of culture, which is coming through values. If culture in music, culture in artistry, culture in our behavior, culture in protecting the environment. To protect the environment is also a part of culture. Our behavior puts ourselves in such a way that will help others to protect. And culture comes from heart with hand. Heart, hand, and head. Three things are integrated in culture. Not only one thing. Hand, heart. Without heart, culture is nothing. Without heart, culture is nothing. So pro-behavior is also pro-behavior of the individual being, especially our students, those who are the would-be teachers of the society, those who are the future of the society. They are to practice that culture. Then we can divide what type of culture is.
Very beautifully answered. Very beautifully answered, ma'am. Venkatesh, since we are talking about the national education policy, he is seeking an answer for his question: how students will get aware of the national education policies and what additional skills are required for them to face the challenges.
Who is giving?
Move to the question.
Yes,
question is very.
How students will get aware of the national education national education policy and what additional skills are required for them to face the challenges.
National education policy draft has been approved by our cabinet. It is yet to pass from the parliaments. Parliament will pass it. Our president will approve it or put his signature on it. Then it will be implemented. It will take about a year. From next year onwards, it will be in practice. And for that, yet it is not decided whether it is to be implemented horizontally or it is to be implemented vertically. That is, at pre-primary stage, from pre-primary stage it is to be implemented, or from the after school it is to be implemented, or it will be implemented uniformly at all levels. It is yet to be decided. And if it is decided either way, whatever way it is to be implemented, it will be notified. Further, needed infrastructure and facilities and setup is to be ensured. When we say that a student can opt for any subject, then it is not in words only. There has to be provision to teach it. There has to be teacher for it. There has to be some infrastructure needed for it. The government will ensure all these things and then it will be implemented. Right now, the draft is approved, we can say. and that draft is to be implemented for a year. Government machinery is making all efforts to set up the pathway, and with that pathway they'll move forward, and we will know in due course of time how it's to be implemented.
Yes, sir. And related to this only, Dr. Pratibha Verma, she's saying that there is a great role for the management of the educational institutes in implementation of this NEP. How do you see the management ready for spending in the training for teachers for this sustainability?
I think that those who do not accept the change will not survive. Yes. It is a this truth is applicable everywhere in any segment, every segment of life. We need to be adaptable to the change in the positive direction, change for the betterment of the self and the society. If coming educational system is to be followed by the new education policy, then management has to follow it, otherwise they will close their college or institutes, because they have to follow the system. So for that matter, it is not an issue. The issue is how best they can adopt it. The better they adopt it, the more they will be liked by the society, by the students. In a better way, they will grow. Because in new education policies, there are provisions where one college will become autonomous college, or a cluster of college will become autonomous system. Universities which are as on today will be limited in their roles. It is a new scenario, and the one who is not getting himself acquainted and adopted with the new scenario, certainly he will face difficulties. And student will certainly go to the college or institute which provides him better opportunities.
Rightly said, sir. That one who will not change cannot survive. This is the beautiful line that should go to every mind, that yes, if we are not adaptable to the changes, then survival is a big issue. Kishori Das ma'am, you have been talking about the culture, and since we are running short of time, I think so that we have just left with 15 minutes to wind up today's session. It has come to an interesting discussion part. There's one question: how can we instill the values of pro-environmental behavior through the cultural practices in this era of globalization?
Cultural practices does not mean that our dress code or our fashion, our all those things. Culture is a multifaceted term, starting from music to dance, from agriculture to sericulture, from living status to thinking, everything is coming under culture. If somebody is thinking cleanly, that is Trikarana Suddhi, is thinking, speaking and practice. Three things are having balance, then he is a cultural person. So the thinking should be very clear cut, crystal clean. That should be practiced in our speaking. That should be practiced in our day-to-day activities. That is one part. We must practice, and we should be role model so that others should be followed up. If we'll think something, say something, and we'll tell people that you will follow me, then that is not a cultural practice. Another thing, our forefathers have given, as for example, your weaving, it is also one culture, weaving culture. Nowadays, there is a question of cultural regeneration. Cultural regeneration is going. Weaving of Gujarat is now regenerated in Patan. People of Patan, they are learning. People of Patan, they are learning how to weave that patola. Patola does not mean that it is only one handloom cloth. Inside the spirit, there is something. the artistic nature of the people which are weaved with emotion has come through Patola. In Sambalpur, Odisha, it is also famous for that. So people, those who are actually getting the ideas should practice in their day-to-day life through cultural activities. Not cultural activities means stage activities only. For example, Bharatanatyam, it is one segment. There is remix. People are spoiling the originality. In the name of remixing of all those things, they are spoiling their thing. So the originality should not go. We may put some flavor, we may give some new ideas which will not spoil the originality of the things. For example, the stone carving work of Gujarat. In Bhilwara temple, we have already observed the work of the filigree work of stone filigree of the artisan. That should be practiced. Musical, Hindustani music. Bhimsen Joshi ji, Bhimsen Gharana, he has started that thing and they are practicing. But nowadays, what happens? Disco songs are integrated. So cultural practice does not mean that only music will come, only song will come, only clothes will come. Our behavior is the first thing. Human behavior should be refined, and our thoughtfulness towards the humanity, our art, artisan, our thinking, everything must have a balance. And a teacher can practice all those things in the classroom itself and the activities of the schools. That's why through cultural activities, we are trying to modify ourselves, refine ourselves. Refinement is the source of culturalization of a person.
Thank you so much, ma'am. That's
okay.
Again well attended to. Sir, Dashura sir, there's one message coming from Assam, and the message says, according to Professor Dashura sir, vision of sustainable development 2030 is more important. Now in Assam, there's an ongoing construction of a big dam over river Brahmaputra, and that is a bad signal in future, in spite of red signals of the environmentalist. So he feels that today's discussion was really helpful, and he's conveying his compliments to Dr. Dashura.
Thank you. I extend my thanks to him. If you like my views.
Thank you so much, sir. And Dr. Hemlata Talisra ma'am, since we are left only with 8 minutes, I would like, in case you want to summarize or say something.
No, I think if Dr. Uma Shankar is summarized,
yes,
he
wants to say something,
yeah.
So we give him.
So
because we have 1 minute only.
Yeah. So
and Uma Shankar ji is right, is to use this 1 minute.
Uma Shankar ji.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yes. So this was a webinar on leadership for environmental sustainability, and we have already discussed about the what type of leadership is essential for any guidance to be followed and imbibed by the masses. So in the absence of vibrant these leaderships, good ideas often fail to implement. So hence this leadership is, or other leader is essential for making suitable strategies in these directions. So we have already gone through this, and I already, because I am an agricultural scientist, so I thrown a light on this type of whether that is a this organic culture, organic farming and all that, and I have already shown a light on how we can do the organic farming, what are the botanical pesticides, what are the alternatives to be used for the pesticides or weedicides or other harmful, say, inorganic fertilizers and all that. So we can have a sustainable agriculture in our country, and should have a production also. So there is a integrated pest management, integrated disease management, with water management. So all these things can be go together, and in that way we can, because of this huge population. So there is a population, so we have to feed the population of 130 crores of India. So we cannot only go for the organic farming, but we also go for the integrated farming systems where we can make use at least minimum use of pesticide, fertilizer. This we can also be used, and we produce the our food grains or vegetables and fruits and all that. So which can supply to all the and we should not be, we are self-reliant in our food grain production. We should not rely on other countries to import the, whether it is a food grains or whether it is a oil, edible oils or pulses or all that. So these are the things we have to integrate, and then only there is a sustainable agriculture, sustainable environment is also being sustainable. So it will not pollute the air or water or soil, and our next generation will get a better air, better water for drinking water, and a good soil for cultivation for a near future also.
Thank you so much, sir. Over to you, Kishori ma'am, for winding up today's session. Indeed, it was a fruitful discussion. Over to you, Kishori ma'am.
Thank you, Seemaji. Really speaking, this was an enlightening session. It was a learning session for me. I have learned a lot from Uma Shankarji, Dasuraji, Professor Talesraji, and Seemaji, because these questions, which was the questions arose by our participants, enlightened us to think about them. These were evoking and provoking both. So the more main thing is, we are to sustain in this world, but our foundation must be agriculture. Without agriculture, we are not going to survive in this world. And agriculture does not mean that only we'll be doing farming. Rather, we are to encourage others to do the thing, and we are to protect our environment in various ways. And at the same time, we are to protect ourselves from outward enemies. And we ourselves are the enemies of ourselves. So we are to take care of ourselves. We are to lead the society, and at the same time, we should think for others. We should not be self-centered. We should think for others, so that the slogan "Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina, Sarve Shantu Niramaya, Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu, Ma Kaschid Dukkha Bhag Bhavet" will be practiced, and Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, which is the ultimate goal of education, will be fruitful. I am thankful to Seemaji, Talesraji, Dasuraji, and Sharmaji that they have given me a chance to interact with them. Thank you very much, and over to Seemaji.
Thank you, Kishori ma'am. In fact, the topic selected for today was such a practical topic, and discussing upon the practical implications of that particular topic has been more worthwhile and being appreciated by our audience here, and we are getting a lot of responses that they really enjoyed the session and they really could relate to the things that were being discussed in the session. So with this, I would like to extend once again a thank you to the director of the webinar, Professor Hemlata Talesra ma'am, to the keynote speaker, our most esteemed keynote speaker, Professor Uma Shankar Sharma sir, to our learned scholar, senior professor and former vice chancellor, Professor P.K. Dashora sir, and to the coordinator of the session, who has enlightened us all by her inputs, Dr. Kishori Das ma'am. So with this word of thanks, I would like to thank all the participants for being attached to this platform with so much interest, giving your inputs continuously in the chat boxes. This made the session more interesting, more vibrant, and with good wishes to all the participants that we meet tomorrow again on the same platform at 2 p.m. tomorrow. Good wishes, stay safe, stay healthy. Thank you very much.
Thank you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.